You aced the resume, killed the cover letter, aced the phone screen, and landed the interview, but something still feels off. You feel great about the job or the company, but you still have thoughts about whether it's a good fit for you. Well, sometimes it's not the job that's the red flag. It's the employer or the culture of the company. And if you take your career seriously, knowing how to spot those red flags is going to pay dividends throughout the rest of your career. That is why in today's video, we'll talk about red flags at job interviews. If you're seeing any of these red flags, it's time to move on to the next opportunity. Don't let it ruin your career. Hi there, welcome to Tree of Life, where we plant the seeds to help you grow. Ready? Then let's get into it. Job interviews are a two-way process. You're interviewing your potential boss and employer as much as they're interviewing you. After all, you don't just want any job, you want the right job. So ask questions, then be cautious of the red flags like unorganized application process. As you ask questions throughout the interview process, how clear or precise are the answers? Are the answers you receive vague or general statements? Or does the interviewer give you tangible examples? The same as they'd expect from you. If you don't feel that you're getting specific and direct answers, that's a red flag. You should ask follow-up probing questions until you feel like you've been given the specificity you need. If they provide you with a lack of information and are unresponsive to your questions, that's questionable. In the best case, it's a sign of a general unorganized working culture. But it could also be a sign that they are actively hiding something from you and it's not a higher bonus than you expected. Bait and switch, or the dangling carrot. It's a warning sign when the job you're interviewing for starts to sound very different from the initial job description that motivated your application. Undoubtedly, change is a constant. However, if the hiring manager doesn't specifically mention or call out the change, it may be a sign that they struggle to effectively communicate or manage change with important internal and external stakeholders. Likewise, it is important to take note if the job suddenly loses its appeal to you due to the change in the role's scope. Also, watch out when expectations are not aligned with compensation. This one happens a lot. When you read the job description, it seems like they want someone with a lot more experience or responsibility than they are willing to pay for. And it often comes with unrealistic ideas about what can be done. In order to do your job well, your work-life balance is going to be thrown out of whack. If they ask you for free work, you have to be careful. Doing work for free is actually against the law in most countries or states. You have to be paid a fair market wage for what you do. But for some job positions, this is just to test your skills. If you're asked to do free work that is related to the job position and you're also seeing other warning signs, you should be cautious. And if you receive an exploding offer from a company, which is an offer that's given with the warning that you have little time to decide, you've actually just received a big red flag. A confident employer would never make a job offer on a Friday, for example, and ask for an answer back by Monday. Doing so represents a lack of self-assurance and certainty in the value of the role. This might also be a sign of a manipulative boss or one who preys on uncertainty and forces others to make decisions without considering what is best for them. Don't let a company give you an ultimatum. You shouldn't be bullied into accepting a job. Rather, the right job will welcome you and encourage you to consider whether you believe there is a mutually beneficial fit. Corporate culture and vibe. Observing the workplace where you're interviewing can teach you a lot. What gut reaction do you have to how people are interacting with one another? How do they interact with the work they do? Does the physical environment enhance or lessen the daily experiences of employees? What kind of energy does the workplace convey? Focused, friendly, and upbeat, or scattered, lonesome, and uninterested? Despite being intangible and subjective, gut feelings, first impressions, and the like can still provide insightful information. When interviewing there, pay attention to the vibe you get from the environment and trust your gut. Unstable company. Do a little research on the reputation of the company and try to find out if they have high turnover rates. If you ask the simple question, "Why is this job open in the first place?" you can usually find out why good employees leave so often. If they don't have a good reason or admit that the people who worked there before them were fired or quit on their own, that's something else to think about. One thing to consider is how long the business has been operating. A company may not have been around for a very long time for good reasons. Maybe it's a brand new tech business with an intriguing new offering. Even reliable startups require the appropriate sum of money to pay their employees what they are worth. It's a warning sign if they say, "Hey, we just can't pay you more than this because we don't have enough money." They will pay for everything else out of their own pockets, and their chances of becoming a profitable business are extremely slim. Another thing to research is if the company seems to have appeared out of thin air. How does their website appear? Are there any press releases available? Is it replete with stock images of generic people speaking? Does it actually operate out of a location? Does it have more than one location where you can go? You might even want to drive by if it's close by to make sure someone is working there. Does it appear that they have what they need to pursue the target business markets? Because it's a big red flag if they want you to bring your own tools to the job. Asking inappropriate or illegal questions. There are certain questions that are completely off limits in an interview setting. Anything related to race, gender, sex, creed, color, any of that stuff. So if an employer asks you during an interview, "Are you planning to start a family?" Actually, that's an unfair question. It doesn't change anything about how you do your job. What they're really trying to figure out is if they'll have to pay for maternity or paternity leave. They may also think that if you leave for maternity or paternity, you won't be as committed to the job in the long run. So it's mostly just assumptions. Another issue that frequently arises in interviews is compensation. But it's illegal in many states, especially the amount of your most recent pay. You see, there are now laws in many states that prohibit asking that question during an interview. The justification is that you ought to be paid what the job is worth and what value you contribute, not what your previous employer paid you. You shouldn't have to deal with having a low-paying job for the rest of your career. Although the majority of hiring managers have not received much interview training, this doesn't give them the right to ask inappropriate questions. They shouldn't have done it, even if they hadn't known it was wrong. So, if an employer asks you any of these inappropriate questions, that's a big warning sign. I also have a bonus tip for you since you've stayed tuned with us this far. You can leave anytime. You don't have to continue with a job interview if there are too many warning signs to ignore. You are free to leave anytime, but if you do, please be cautious and say something like, "I've come to the conclusion that this employment opportunity is not going to fulfill my needs. I believe that if we put an end to this conversation right now, we will both save time and effort." We hope you learned something today. If you haven't already, give us a like and subscribe and tell us how this video brings value to you in the comment section down below, or suggest a topic that you'd like us to talk about in our next video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.